for context, the guy was desperately trying to get over.
As I could tell.
Yeah, he sped up to get over, and then Josh sped up like a jackass to meet his bumper, and then neither one of you guys did anything. So that was just an endeavor.
Maybe he's from Washington. You know, like in Massachusetts, you have the aggressive drivers, but in fucking Seattle, you have the passive-aggressive drivers, so they'll start to merge and then back out at the last possible second.
Or you could be like Florida, and they're just like, I don't even know the laws. Just go out in the middle of the road.
What do you mean?
Have a baby gate for a front door.
What do you mean you can't drive backwards on the highway going the wrong direction?
My uncle did it. He's a legend. Is he still alive? Well, he's 17. Why do you have a 17-year-old uncle? Big families, you know? I mean, I don't know. I feel like in Hollywood, people just like with dudes, they're just like, well, he got to fuck Angelina Jolie. What if she was completely insane? It's like, what? Yeah. Now, let me give you a hypothetical. What if she walked around with your blood around her neck? Because she did.
Sign me up, did she?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
What was the deal with her brother? Didn't she like make out with her brother one time on stage or something?
Yeah, but she's famous. You do it, and it's fucking disgusting. You're like, that guy's lucky. That's her dad, man. Like, I don't think she's that fucking lucky, man. I think I'm very concerned about her future because she's tonguing her dad on stage. That's another Trump one too. He's like, that one line, you were like, how are you still running for president? Oh man, look at my daughter over there. If
she wasn't my daughter, I'd probably
if she was 10 years younger and wasn't my daughter, I'd probably be fucking her. Like, what? We want to give you bombs and then Biden sniffs people?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even get it.
What the hell?
But still, it's like they don't have full clarity. They're like, remember the bombs were flying over my head? Like, there weren't any bombs during that battle. Oh, the grenades were everywhere. We didn't even have grenades. Oh, and then my friend Billy answered his cell phone. He's a little addled. It was 75 years ago. But it was perfectly rendered exactly how I remember it now in the haze of medication. Dementia. It was amazing. No, here's the thing. We're doing a road trip with GoPros. $250, you can buy a decent GoPro. They shoot in 4K, put them on soldiers' faces, and then you get to see the war. All right? So, and that stops you guys from doing shady shit, because we get to see it too. Body cam, the military.
I mean, that's...
Everybody gets a body cam.
The government goes down the line, is a soldier's life worth $250?
If you're on enough LSD, you can pretend you're anywhere. I'm on the Alps.
We had that conversation. The best way to unite people, just replace the drinking water with LSD and the fluid in their eyelids.
Brought to you by psilocybin. No one knows what psilocybin is. They legalized it in a couple of states, and people are like, "Oh, this is killing me." It's awesome.
A lot of people.
Yeah, no one knows psilocybin. It's mushrooms. I mean, it probably kills some people, but it's like rabies attacks. You're like, like. It's like wolf attacks are up 100%, but I'm like, that's still like 7 guys. It's not an epidemic. I'm gonna be real like simple with you about the way that I feel about Trump. It's like I followed him for not him, but I followed everything. Like anybody that thinks I don't follow politics are out of their fucking mind. I spend 8 hours a day going through fucking articles, reading fucking shit you don't want to. Like looking at fucking bills that are coming up, looking at like the new dialogue. New laws and shit, like anything that comes up that's interesting I go on to. And like it seemed like the guy didn't stand for a single fucking thing but him, because it's like when everything you're talking about, it's like oh, I want to solve all these problems with these taxes, and it seems like you're gonna do super okay with this one. I'm gonna like do all this stuff, so there's like reform on this and reform on that, and like at the end of it, it's like you seem to be doing great and all your friends are doing great, but like I haven't seen you handing out fucking anything but toilet paper and like Puerto Rico chucking toilet, paper towels at people. Like,
well, I mean the annual household income increased like by $3,000 on average.
Yeah, but I mean,
and then you also had like the tax return.
So there's never been a single thing besides Trump that made that happen. It's the same thing where there, if there's any kind of like economic upturn, he in the beginning he was like, oh, we're doing so great. I've been president for 7 weeks, and I'm like, well, then that wasn't you. Like you didn't do anything. It was the same kind of shit recently. Everybody was bitching about Biden gas prices. Like, he was president for 4 weeks, and everybody was like, well, he's president. It's crazy that the first thing he did was make gas more expensive.
4 weeks, but he passed like 50-something executive orders. And
how many did Trump do in the first week?
Well, Biden did
75.
Biden did more. No, well, actually,
as rollback. It was retaliation on the rollback on a lot of that shit.
Really against executive orders in general.
I think they need to not exist.
Biden did do more than every president before him up until like I think Carter.
But if you
the last 5 or 6 presidents,
and then you look at the pardons and shit, where it's like people gave Trump issues with pardons, and it's like, at the ass end, it's like Obama did a shitload, but he did a shitload, across the board.
He
it was like
letting people out of Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, it was like that's your pardon. We're sorry we locked you in there for 7 years.
Oh man.
But I don't. There's probably still people there. Definitely is.
Yeah, there
from the beginning.
Is.
Tell us where the microfiche is. I don't even know what that is. We don't even have access to handle microfiche. Why are you asking?
Well, I know what you're saying.
It's what we were asking him before.
When a president steps in and they're taking credit or blame for things immediately out of the gate, but there are absolutely things that can be directly attributable to the decisions and policies that they lay out also right out of the gate. So gas prices went up. Not even so much because of the oil pipeline that Biden shut down, but just because industries that control gasoline, start raising the price when they think that they're going to get hit due to policies in the current administration. So, it's not even a product of the policies that Biden put out, but rather an anticipation of the policies that he was going to put out by people in charge of gasoline.
This anticipation of make-believe problems that unfortunately conservatives
are into existence.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not going to say we're going to have an alien invasion tomorrow, but I think we should be super over-prepared and then, immediately start questioning your friends on whether or not they might be hypothetical changelings. It's like, no, this isn't like a fucking thing. We don't know. This is like, especially when you're talking about
it's exactly like in The Boys or whatever, when the news is going out and saying that all supers are like terrorists or whatever, and you see this guy watching this day after day after day, and then he goes into the grocery store and he sees a guy's like eyes flicker in the light, and he thinks he might be a super, so he goes back and he shoots the guy who wasn't even a super. It's just like you're creating problems out of situations that before they even happen, you're materializing the problems out of your will. But as far as Trump goes, there were obviously things that he did, objectively speaking, that were directly attributed to the annual household income going up and the tax returns going up. Versus Obama, it was like $1,000 in annual income increase over the span of 8 years versus $3,000 under Trump plus the tax return increase.
The other thing too is you're talking about $1,000 or $8,000. That's not economic wealth for a country. It's you bare minimum a year.
It's a big difference.
And it's also about how people handle that economic problem. Bottom up is the way to go. You raise the whole fucking country from the bottom up, and everybody pushes up. Because you're still number one. If you make $1 billion, you're not any less number one. I'm not handing the guys at the bottom $1 billion and offsetting the world. Well, I'm not saying give everybody the money either. I'm not saying do that. But it's like, even if it's not giving them money, it's like, wow, can we eliminate these people? They don't need to exist. These $10,000 a year people should make more money. Can we figure out a way to either do a program to help them, tax incentives to get them out of there, something where you work with banks where they get them into houses to get them out of these expensive rents?
Well, that's what I was going to ask about. It depends on how you're raising the bottom, because they've been doing that whole thing. If you just give poor people money, that means they're not.
Yeah, but it's
anymore.
like the
$2,000 checks. All right, sweet. I'm rich for a month and a half, and then I'm poor again.
Yeah, but that's even more incentive. That's more insulting than anything. Not because it's $2,000 that you're handing people. They just assume that's the fix. It's like, yeah, this year there's a lot of government, the new shit. I'll tell people just from experience. If you have kids, pay attention. They're literally going to pay a bunch of people all fucking year for a good portion of the year for daycare subsidies, because people literally couldn't even fucking work when they could work because you couldn't take them to any place. COVID was crazy.
My big problem with the subsidies, it's designed to keep people in poverty more than anything. Because when they say, all right, if you own a car that is worth more than $3,000, you're cut off from your subsidies. If you make over a certain, I'm not sure what the actual percentage is, but if if you make over this amount of money, you're cut off from your subsidy. So it's incentivizing people to just live off of the government.
Yeah.
Well, and they're never aspiring.
And it also doesn't have education going into it, because it's also like if you say, here's a big reform bill, what we're going to do, and it's going to be this big task force that basically gets in, and we're looking to like eliminate poverty. Yeah. And we're gonna do it from the ground up. It'll be everybody bitching nonstop for 70 fucking years straight, and they'll filibuster, hold their fucking breaths, because they don't like that you gave $5 to this program when you wanted to give them $7, or vice versa. They don't give a shit, because it's not about the message of the bill. It's about what we can nitpick and fuck up. Because it's like if you
when
can
you're
figure
dealing
out
with
like
massive bills,
yeah,
I mean, a
you
lot
are,
of times,
but it's like
it'll either be Democrats or Republicans do the same thing, where they
don't want
try to sneak in things in these massive, like 2,000-page bills.
Then don't do 2,000-page bills.
But
that's the dumbass fucking point. It's like, yeah, the stimulus bill and shit, for instance, it was trying to address a bunch of different problems, and it was the same shit.
But
with
there
the
was a
other
shit
ones.
ton of stuff. You're talking about that bill that a few months ago or whatever, right?
Oh yeah, that one, the one before, they had all
billion.
kinds of crazy shit, and don't get it wrong. There was crazy shit in there for horse fucking stables and fucking museum funds and shit, and they came out of Republicans. There was just as many dumb ones on the other side that were fucking stupid shit. It was like, well, can we put my boat in there? No, you can kill yourself. Like you're the one holding back like potential like food stamps for kids that like don't have parents working because they work for like fucking Walmarts that shut down or something.
Well, what got me is like when
some people
like go on the
money.
news and people were bitching about how the Republicans weren't signing off on this $1.9 trillion thing because they were like reading through this 2,000-page bill or whatever, and then they'd go out and say, you know, in the average day, 878 people died of COVID. They make it sound like, oh, okay, if they just blindly signed it, those 878 people wouldn't have died. Bullshit for one, but I mean, when you're dealing with the 2,000-page bill and $1.9 trillion that's tied to it,
well,
I mean, you should fucking want to know where that money's going.
Then figure out what the fuck is the most important shit and stop bitching. That was their issue. It's like, you know,
that takes time to read 2,000
well, who are you giving it to? Is it because if they said it was people that made under $75,000, someone would have came up and be like, what about 73? Because it's just anything to be the opposition to it, you know, and just to be the fucking problem. And that's, like I said, it's on both fucking sides, because it's like, you know, they had a fucking Senate that was red and a House that was red for a really long fucking period of time. And if I'm a Democrat, I'm gonna kind of want to do the stuff I wanted to do 8 years ago, because it just got stopped every fucking time I put a bill
up.
That's
what you're seeing now. They're trying to ramrod a lot of the stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, but it was done the same way before. I guarantee you. Do yourself a little bit of a. You want to see the most despicable piece of legislation ever pushed by a conservative party ever? Look up the fucking. What was the fucking Freedom Act or whatever right after September 11th? It was 8,000 fucking pages, dropped the day before. No one had time, and they had to vote on it the next day. And they backdoored all kinds of bullshit in that thing to make sure the one that they had for like post 9/11, where it was like it was the Patriot Act or whatever. Patriot Act. Yeah, that shit was fucking madness. It was like 6 or 8,000 pages of madness that they dropped the day before and made them vote on it. And like they literally didn't even have the physical.
I remember you mentioning that. I gotta look into that because
it's deep, dude.
Like, full disclosure, I mean, I didn't start getting into politics till the tail end of Obama, because I mean, when we're talking about 9/11, I was 5 years old when
I was young too. But you look at a piece of legislation like that, and you're like, how is that even fucking legal? I'm not even talking about that. That's just like an example. It's like, this thing is too big to even put up to the Congress, because it's Congress. Because it's like, I'm sorry, like there are a lot of things. But if it's a popularity contest in that state, they're not fucking smart enough to go through 8,000 pages. But that was like that time frame too. You're like, you know, you're wearing short skirts so your fucking boss can like find you attractive and give you a marketing position.
Like the bra burnings of the 70s, you know, didn't help. It's like, oh yeah, I'm totally down for female empowerment.
Be a bitch.
I'll burn your bra for you.
Go be an asshole Republican. And go to Target and be a bitch about the return policy. Feminism.
So nothing empowers women more than not shaving their underarms, showering, and then burning their bra.
I heard from experience too, if you tell them to calm down.
That always works.
Just say, if you weren't so much like your mother, you wouldn't be having these fucking problems.
Yeah, I heard that 60% of the time it never works.
Yeah.
The other 40% you end up dead.
And they also like it when you point fingers in their face and you go, you know what your fucking problem is? And then you list it off to help them.
It's like, no, honey, you don't understand. I didn't say that you were a bitch. I said you were acting
You're
like
acting
a bitch.
like a bitch.
That's the governor's building.
We can only hope. Hope he dies there. I don't even know who he is. Chris Christie? It's Chris Christie.
Yeah.
Fuck Chris Christie. Yeah, fuck him too. Well, I don't know where he's from.
I'm an average American.
All I know is he's fat.
We know the things that are important.
No reason to film, just filming stuff for reasons.